Hello everyone, Sage again. Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Executive Corner Expert Talks by 𝐊𝐶𝐥 TV. Today's special guest is Mr. Robert 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞, the founder of 𝐊𝐚𝐥 Energy. And today's expert will share insights on running a UK-based tech company that combines and leverages the best of breed technologies like AI, SaaS and Internet of Things devices to provide a world-class solution to help companies reduce their electricity consumption and carbon footprint. So we bring you the industry advocates, business leaders, all under the one roof to help you learn the insights of the stock markets. Bringing you live today, we have Mr. Robert 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞, founder of 𝐊𝐚 Energy. Welcome, Robert.
Hi, Sage. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
For making the time for 𝐊𝐶𝐥 too, Robert. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Let's get started without any further delays. With your extensive experience as a CEO, COO and CMO, we're keen to definitely hear your insights on the show. It's true that technology is like our third hand in the contemporary world. Would you please start today's discussion by elaborating on how combining powerful hardware with intuitive cloud-based software results in the most comprehensive energy management solution for businesses?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. About 5 years ago, I guess, I noticed that the green sector, the energy efficiency industry, was pretty fractured and siloed. I mean, you could get some really awesome solutions for lighting or for, inverter air conditioning or motors and so on and so forth. But these were all siloed. And if you are a big organization, if you're a factory, or even if you just own a building, you were using an Excel spreadsheet or something similar to actually track your energy usage per floor and so on and so forth. And having come from an insurance and business intelligence background, I'm really used to having a whole lot of data in front of me so that I can make good business decisions. Right? So it then occurred to me that this is essentially what we need for energy efficiency, because energy efficiency is disparate forms of data all coming in from motors or air conditioning or fryers or fridges, freezers, so on and so forth. So our solution is actually cutting edge and unique in that it uses hardware, software, services to provide a whole suite of solutions that actually encompass the entire site at an asset level in real time. Now, it's important to understand asset level means that, if you have a fryer that's using double the amount of electricity, we can zero in on that. And that's where our suite of IoT sensors and AI actually comes into play. Long answer, I'm sorry, Sage.
No, thank you so much. It sounds like a lot of work goes into making that happen for your clients, and what an advantageous thing it is. Anything that can save the carbon that's being emitted into the atmosphere, anything that can keep your clients' bills down is certainly a good thing. So thank you, Robert, for your insights. Now, your strategies enable peak performance in transforming sales and marketing teams. In your opinion, what makes your energy management solutions superior to other entity solutions in the market today?
Okay, as I previously mentioned, our solution is actually quite unique. And it's even more unique in that we can prove on a monthly basis the energy savings being achieved because we use the International Performance Management and Verification Protocol. Now, it's a mouthful, so I'll just call it IPMVP from now on. It's a very mature international standard that was developed by the US Department of Energy, and it's been spun off and improved over the last 25 years, and it's now very similar to ISO or BV in the respect that it's gained in the industry. And it's actually currently used by many, many governments globally, the EU, the UK, Australia, Germany, France, the US, obviously. And having all these facets in a single solution means that any organization can now look at their power bill and say, okay, tell me exactly which pieces of equipment. Give me the top 10, top 20, I don't care. I want all of the equipment. As long as it's connected to our solution, we can report on it, we can measure it. And that's what makes us so different.
That's fantastic. So that will even then help to keep the sellers of these appliances in line. It'll help to regulate them as well, because if they're advertising something and it's not delivering, you're then able to bring it up with them. So this sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Robert, for sharing your insights with us. Now, you have much experience building business profiles, even on the international landscape. We are pleased to see that you are expanding your business to multiple cities. You mentioned the US just a moment ago, and across the ASEAN region. What is your vision for the new venture, and how are developments fostering, please?
Okay, well, thank you. Yes, our primary focus really is the Asia-Pacific region. And our emphasis for the next 3 years is actually ASEAN. And we get a lot of raised eyebrows when we say, you know, reducing carbon footprint in ASEAN, and people sort of say, well, that's a challenge. I'm actually very, very pleased to say that countries like Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, they're actually doing a lot to reduce and prioritize CO2 emissions. And, you know, I see a lot of announcements being made worldwide about, you know, oh, we're gonna allocate billions of funds. Like UK just recently said they were going to allocate £15 billion to the green sector, to green bonds and so on. And my immediate question is, how much of that actually have you spent? Because if you've allocated £15 billion, but you've only spent 100 million, it's still a lot of money, but it's a drop in the bucket when you're talking about £15 billion. And on that note also, since we are talking about my plans, I'm actually very pleased to announce on this show that we've just, in the last couple of days, received the Thailand Board of Investment approval. So we are now a fully approved BOI company in Thailand.
Congratulations on your recent registering in Thailand. Sounds like big things ahead for 𝐴𝐶N Energy. And
Indeed.
It's unfortunate that while responsible companies try their best to reduce their carbon emissions with strategies that include greener forms of energy like hydro and solar, most companies are still unaware or unable or unqualified to measure their power consumption at an asset level. Now, you've mentioned already how 𝐴𝐶N Energy is able to help here. Could you please give your expert insights on what should be the course of action for companies worldwide to think and act sustainably?
Great question. My goodness. Have you got 2 hours? I don't think so, right?
No.
Look, while it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant that companies are switching to renewables, this is generally a huge project that requires significant expenditure. And although it does actually reduce an organization's CO2 footprint, it does not actually address the root cause of the problem, which is generally that companies are very inefficient in the way they run their operations. A lot of electricity is wasted. And switching to renewables basically means that they're just wasting green electricity and they haven't addressed the main issue. Ultimately, energy efficiency improvements can actually account for about 40% of the UN CO2 carbon reduction targets, which incidentally makes a greater impact than just switching to renewables. Because in the end, the greenest energy is actually energy that you don't use, right? By becoming more energy efficient, reducing wasted energy, switching to renewables, you're doing everything you can to minimize your CO2 footprint. And of course, I'm going to have a shameless plug here, but by using 𝐴𝐶N Energy's solutions, we are able to actually help you to achieve these by helping you to measure, manage, verify, and report. This is very, very important these days, the reporting side of it. On every strategy that you implement, whether it's a 1% strategy or if it's a 40% strategy, because in the end, you can't manage what you can't measure.
Exactly, and that's so true. And thanks again for sharing your insights, and your solutions that 𝐴𝐶N Energy provides really do sound cutting edge, and I'm So honoured to have you share your insights today on the show. And the COVID-19 pandemic made everyone environmentally conscious. However, after businesses got shattered because of the stagnant economy, in such challenging circumstances, which we've actually seen the carbon emissions in so many countries of the world be reduced massively, how did you transform your business to sustain and grow through the restrictions during the pandemic?
So let me answer your question essentially in 4 parts. Firstly, I think that the pandemic has taught us as human beings so many lessons, very, very valuable lessons. It's actually also been very much of a wake-up call. So for me personally, the 2 things that I've taken away from this is that we don't constantly need to be in the office. Yes, it's wonderful to be able to poke your head around the corner and say, hey, need to discuss this for 5 minutes. Yes, that part of it is gone. But then we have all sorts of things like WhatsApp and Zoom and all of that. So it can still be done just on a less personal basis. And yes, we humans are very social creatures. I do accept that. The second thing is that we don't actually need to jump on a plane, and I'm actually reading this a lot in Financial Times, Business Insider, and so on. And I think I saw in one of your clips as well. We don't actually need to jump on a plane at the drop of a hat to go and have a meeting anymore. And this is actually going to reduce, again, flights between countries, between intercity, intracity, so on and so forth. But what that will actually do is, because we're reducing flights, we're actually reducing carbon emissions. So again, as you mentioned, it's actually brilliant. Second part of my answer, it's actually been a huge benefit for the planet, as you mentioned, because a lot of high-emitting countries, I'm living in one at the moment in Thailand, you actually see smoke clearing, which is absolutely wonderful, right? Thirdly, this thing that we call cost of doing business is now starting to be redefined by financial controllers, because previously, if you went to a financial controller and said, look, I can save you 10% on your electricity bill, they'd be like, well, there's a cost of doing business. We're not really all that concerned about 10% on our electricity bill. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, you can save me 10%. When can we get this solution done? And of course, finally, I'm very, very proud to say that 𝐬𝐴N Energy has always been an energy efficient company, because we use our own equipment, because we are our own guinea pigs, right? We like to make sure that all of our equipment works as advertised. So the transformation for us has actually been more of actually trying to tell our clients that we use an energy savings as a service model, which is an ESAS model, which, for want of to shorten that even further, is actually a shared savings model, which means that there is actually minimal or no cost upfront, and we share the savings. And quite often we get like, so we don't have to pay you upfront. No. Okay. When can you start?
Thank you so much for breaking it down for us like that. That's absolutely so true. COVID has posed so many unforeseen risks and changes that we've just had to adapt so quickly. And I think those risk managers or CEOs who are able to strategize around it and adapt and pivot were the ones who were able to sustain their businesses. So we have to start winding up there, Robert. It's been a very inspiring discussion, and your work sounds very valuable for what you're doing for people's consumption, bills, for also the environment. So best of luck with your projects moving forward. Was there any final comments you'd like to share before we wind up the discussion?
Oh, just a very, very big thank you to yourself and to 𝐊𝐴N for having me on the show today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. And viewers, if you've just joined us, we had a very inspiring discussion with Mr. Robert 𝐬𝐴N, the founder of 𝐬𝐴N Energy. And if you'd like to find out more about what 𝐬𝐴N Energy is doing to help reduce consumption of energy and reducing carbon footprint of households, please check out the recorded interview, which will be available on 𝐾ALKINE Media's YouTube channel. And stay watching 𝐾ALKINE for more expert talks and live market commentaries. As we say, stay apprised and invest wise with 𝐾ALKINE. you.